as it stands within June 22nd to 26th of last month. President William Ruto has a lead, and I would say commanding lead, compared to the rest of 32% as the person who Kenyans would vote for if elections were held within that particular time. He's followed a distance with the former Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka, at 13%. Then there is a tie. There's a tie between Edwin Sifuna, Nairobi Senator, and Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who polled 12% respectively. After the duo, we have Rigathi Gachagua, the former DP, who has 4% popularity nationwide. Then Babu Owino has 3%. Former Chief Justice David Maraga has 2%. And then Honorable Martha Karua closes at 1% popularity nationwide. If we look at the undecided figure, undecided still stands close to 21 for those who preferred not to disclose who their candidate, who they would vote for, plus those who are yet to make up their mind. And it's around 20%. But there's also an interesting 1%, 1% popularity that is shared among these other Kenyans leaders: George Natembeya, Eugene Wamalwa, Ndindi Nyoro, Kia Mtata, Ukuro Kiot, George Wajakoya, and Jimmy Wanjigi. So they share the 1%. We've lumped them because the fractions are 0 point something, 0 point something. So cumulatively, they share that. How does it play region-wise? If you check within the regions, President Ruto has a command in about 5 regions, and that include, his highest is from Northeastern at 59%, followed by Rift Valley, 46%. Then the Nyanza at 40, Coast 33, then Nairobi 19, Western 35. Of course, his list is from the 3 regions. Central at 12, Eastern 19, then of course Nairobi at 19. However, it's important to note, he's the only presidential aspirant who is leading in Nairobi at 19%. Kalonzo Musyoka has his highest from Eastern at 40% popularity. Sifuna has his highest from Western at 26%. Fred Matiang'i has his highest from Central at 19%. And of course, with Nairobi giving him 16 and Nyanza giving him 17%. Then, of course, here we see Rigathi has his highest of 12% from Central Kenya. So if you look at the president, of course, you can see he has considerable gap between the competitors or the perceived competitors by Kenya. Then, of course, we can see if cumulatively we combine the popularity of all the key leading opposition leaders or the United Alternative Government, if their votes are accumulated, then now they are ahead of the president. But at individual phase, the president still commands the lead. So just in summary, we see that by gender, of course, the president is taking a lead. Male and female are giving him, but of course he has his highest vote from the male counterpart. Then of course, if you check the age band, Edwin Sifuna gets his highest from the Gen Zs of 20%, but the president is still leading 28 within that particular age band at 28%. Of course, Dr. Fred Matiang'i are within the mature adults. That's where he's getting his highest of 14%. And it's distributed across. You can see by age, and of course, you can see it by gender, how the distribution happens. So there's a likely higher appeal for Edwin Sifuna among the youngest, and for Fred Matiang'i, it's among the mature adults. The president seems to balance it across the age bands, and of course, a balance also for the gender. We also went and did check by the political party. Remember, there's that association, there's a question we ask, which political party do you support? So the UDA, those who support UDA, in terms of popularity, President William Ruto has an 87% amongst those who are affiliated with UDA. Of course, within the ODM brigade, those who told us they feel closest to ODM, 38% would vote for President William Ruto, 23% would vote for Edwin Sifuna. Then, of course, a cumulative 39% would consider. There's a bit of fragmentation in DCP. DCP, 24% would vote for the former DP, Rigathi Gachagua. However, 20% would go for Matiang'i, would vote for Matiang'i, and 20% would vote for Kalonzo. Then 13% of those who are affiliated with DCP would consider voting for Edwin Sifuna. Kalonzo Musyoka would command 89% of those who are associated with Wiper. If you check in terms of our response rate, those who are from Wiper, 89% said they would vote for Kalonzo as their presidential candidate. For Jubilee, Matiang'i would control 60% of the vote, whereas President William Ruto, 11, Edwin Sifuna, 12, then the others. For those who are not affiliated to any political party, there are people who are not affiliated. President William Ruto would have 14%, but majority are yet to decide who they would vote for those that are not affiliated with political. So what this slide basically tells us is that if you affiliated with a political party, then it seems the party leader or the person who is perceived to be possible presidential candidate becomes the most that you are supporting. But for those that do not have any political affiliation, of course, there's also an even distribution between President William Ruto, 14%, Matiang'i 14%, then Edwin Sifuna getting 13% of the vote. And of course, you can still see it by now a more expressive view. We've decided to give you a trend analysis because we've been conducting these polls over a period of time, and we've gone back the memory lane to August. What were the numbers? Who is gaining? Who is losing? We can see President William Ruto, as of August 2025, his popularity stood at 21%. In December, when we did the poll, it was at 28%. So So he's gained another 4% as of today to stand at 32%. Fred Matiang'i, as of August, had 15%. In December, he ditched by 2 to stand at 13%. He's now further ditched by 1 to stand at 12%. Kalonzo Musyoka, in August, he had 8%. He's now moved. He moved to 12% in December. He's gained by 1%, 13% overall. Edwin Sifuna had 0 mention in August. In December, he had a 0.2% mention, very insignificant, but currently he has shot to 12% nationally. So you can see, for those who've gained over a period of time since August, and those who've really declined, we can see David Maraga has the highest decline of 4% from August last year to now. He's dipped by 4%. And of course, Fred Matiang'i has also dipped by 3% cumulatively. So you can see, and of course, Martha Karua has also been dropping. If you consider in August, she had 1%, and she rose to 2% and now back to 1%. Another considerable drop is Honorable Babu Owino, who had 3% in August. He moved to 7% in December and currently has 3% nationally. At equilibrium, almost at equilibrium, has been Rigiji, Rigathi Gachagua, who had 4% in August, moved to 5% in December, and currently has slightly dropped by 1% to stand at 4% nationally. So just to have a view, the overall, the president leading by 32, and of course he's gained about 11 percentage point from August to date. Then of course, the other person that has just come up from no mention or very insignificant mention is Edwin Sifuna, who stands at 12% nationally.